Welcome, everybody, to the Monthly Movie Dispatch. Every month we get together, we discuss our favorite new movie we saw last month. We pick a new favorite and answer questions about it. What separates us from the other 100,000 movie-related shows is that we're high school friends. We've been talking movies for 15 years, and we'd be doing it even if no one was listening. I'm here today with Brandon Bowlby.
Hey, guys.
Derek Deal.
Hi.
And Shaun Bowlby.
That's me.
You know, one of these days I'm going to really come up with official nicknames for you guys. I chickened out this time. But next time, maybe we'll have nicknames for you. So, how you guys doing today?
Really good.
Doing good.
Cool. So we're closing up May right now. It's been a pretty exciting month for movies for me. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I thought May was pretty great. I used my AMC Stubbs A-list probably 6-7 times, I think. I saw Avengers again. So, you know, that's doing real good. Do you guys have any notable things that you want to say before we get started?
I feel like I'm finally getting back into watching a good handful of movies again. After binging too hard at the end of last year, I took like a 2-month break or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, this last month I've been going strong.
Burnt out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you also went to London, right?
Yeah.
You watch anything on the airplane?
Movies. Fuck, what did I... Oh, The Kid Who Would Be King, I watched.
Oh, how was it?
Great kids movie. Really solid. Yeah, super legit film. For a 7-8-year-old, for sure.
For an 8-year-old.
Nice. That's the follow-up from the director of Attack the Block. It's like the first movie he's done since then.
Shit.
Which I never saw. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
I should go back.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's just a little monster movie, but it's I think it's John Boyega's like first role. And
Yeah, I remember
it's fun.
Attack the Block.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started on reviews, I think it'd be really cool and worthwhile to just do a brief summer movie wager update, just to fill in those of you who don't listen consistently. In our last episode, we broke down our summer movie wager, our picks for this summer, which are looking good. So this last, we all picked Avengers at number 1, which that's going strong. That's made $800 million so far. It looks like it's probably going to pass Avatar. I mean, what do you guys think? You think it's going to pass Avatar?
I would imagine it will.
By next weekend, for sure.
What? I don't know about next weekend, but
Worldwide?
I think... Yeah, I mean, that's 90... They'd have to make $90 million this week. I don't think they did that last week.
Oh.
But I think like really soon, within the next couple weeks. And even if it starts to fade out, I bet they just leave it in just until it passes. 'Cause it's like, it's not going to take that long. And people are it's still made it in the top 3 this weekend. So,
yeah. So the other movies that came out this last month were, you know, at least the ones that we had on our lists that are notable. Detective Pikachu came out. That's sitting right now at $121 million, which is decent, but not great. So people like me are not looking so good with that one. Am I
looking the best with that one? Yeah, with the Dark Horse?
Dark Heart.
It's right around Dark Horse territory.
I don't know.
120. I bet I'm kind of liking my spot.
I think
Number
it's
8.
still going to make the top 10. I just think I have it too high. Yeah, I don't know about exactly which points yet, but what I do know is that Aladdin is already ahead of it. Aladdin made $128 million already just in 1 week. So Aladdin
I'm pretty happy
good.
with my Aladdin choice. I had it the highest of all you guys. So I think I'm pretty safe there.
You had it at number 5. Shaun had it at number 6. And Derek had it at number 6. I had it at number 8. So, so far it's not looking good for me this summer, guys. I'm still looking at Rocket Man as my big screw up pick. I was listening to the Slash Filmcast while painting my parents' house, and Dave Chen was like, "So I just found out that Rocket Man is rated R, so that's not good for me." And that was also when I found out that Rocket Man was rated R. And
are we thinking John Wick is going to crack number 10?
It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already made 110. People are seeing it. It's got good word of mouth.
Yeah. Thinking Derek's going to pick up some good points with his John Wick 3 and Detective Pikachu placement.
Yeah. So
Hope
those
so.
are some things that are happening. I mean, we got a few big ones coming up still. I mean, we're going to see Godzilla come out this next weekend, and then The Secret Life of Pets 2 and Dark Phoenix came out the same weekend. Men in Black,
The big kind of determining factor is going to be Toy Story 4 versus The Lion King.
Well, that's the make or break for Brandon a little bit. The Toy Story 4 and Lion King fight.
Yeah,
I'm going to take, if it's my way, I'm going to take so much points landing 2 in a row.
Right. But, really the bottom of the list is really where it's going to shake out, I think, for a lot of us with, Men in Black International and Godzilla. I mean, really, Godzilla is a big wild card here. Like, I don't have Godzilla on my list, and you guys all do. So, right. I mean, like, Godzilla could bomb. We don't know. That's why I'm, I hate rooting for a movie to do poorly, but I hope it does poorly.
Yeah.
But it's as exciting. Basically for me, I think I have a pretty far shot of winning, but I'm rooting for anyone other than Brandon at this point. So,
oh my God.
I just want to see what type of movie anyone else would choose if they won. Like if Derek chooses, like it could be anything. It could be a comedy. It could be a horror movie. If Shaun wins, it'll probably be an Akira Kurosawa movie. That's exciting. But
it sounds like I'm gonna have to make you guys watch Beast of No Nation.
Right.
Oh God.
Yeah, me too.
I've seen that one, so would I have to watch it again? But anyway, this is really fun. I'm really excited about it. But John Wick. We have a
lot of summer left.
Yeah, we have a lot of summer left. Really, there's no point in saying who's in the lead right now. But Derek's in the lead right now. So
there's a lot to be determined.
Also, there is someone on the Slash Filmcast leaderboard who has like 45 points, but all of their picks are just for the month of May. So the rest of their summer doesn't look so great.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have three really good movies to talk to you guys about this month. We are going to do three. We have three recommendations. I'm excited about all of them. I actually didn't pick any of these. I've got a little game for us later on, but I thought all three of these movies are great, so I'm excited about getting started on it. We've got Shaun's movie up first. Shaun, do you want to introduce your movie?
So the movie I really wanted to talk to you guys about is the movie Long Shot. So Long Shot is a movie starring Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen, directed by Jonathan Levine. The IMDb summary is journalist Fred Flarsky reunites with his childhood crush Charlotte Field, now one of the most influential women in the world. As she prepares to make a run for presidency, Charlotte hires Fred as her speechwriter, and sparks fly. So the one word that I would use to describe this movie is that it is just delightful on every level. It's just such a fun movie to watch throughout its entirety. The chemistry between the two main characters, Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen, is palpable, and you totally believe that these two characters are falling in love. You have such a great time being with these two characters as they kind of reunite and I guess fall in love with each other. The scenes that they share together are so sweet and honest, and it's kind of surprising because they don't really seem like they would have, or at least me going into it, they didn't seem like the two actors that would have really good chemistry to get back together, but it works so well on so many levels. And they do such a great job of being able to pull such great comedy out of these very touching moments. And there's so much creativity to the characterization of these two people. And, it just like, it was just delightful. It didn't ever fall into the trap that a lot of romantic comedies fall into of kind of nonsensical drama. And it just to me, it just worked on so many levels. And I just really enjoyed this movie. And I liked the movie so much. I actually even went and saw it twice. I was really excited to go back and rewatch the movie. So.
Whoa. You went back to the theaters?
That was a really good day. I woke up super hungover that day, like beyond hungover, and drove to the movie theater at 10 a.m. and saw Detective Pikachu try not to throw up in a theater full of little kids. And then I went and hung out with Shaun.
Reeking of alcohol.
And then I went and hung out with Shaun and Kelly, just sitting by a lake for hours. And then we got some food, and Shaun was just like, hey, you guys want to go see this movie I already saw? And it was like, man, it must be good if you were willing to go see it again. So yeah, we went and saw it again.
That's pretty rare. When was the last time you did that, Shaun?
I actually just did it with John Wick. I saw that twice, 2 times in a row. I think back-to-back weeks.
What is happening?
Hey, AMC stubs A-list, man.
That's true.
You got the
A-list.
A-list.
Not working.
Yeah, I mean.
Right, I never actually realized that rule that differs from Movie Pass is you can see the same movie as much as you want, right?
Right, as many times as you want. Yeah, as long as you can only go to movies 3 times a week, but it can it can be any movie.
Nice.
So,
well, sweet, man. I really wish I got to see this movie because it seems like it's right up my alley. But I'll definitely check it out in the future. But I'm curious. So, Jonathan Levine, I remember like years ago, came out with 50/50, which is another Seth Rogen.
So good.
Love that movie.
Yeah, 50/50 is great, and it's one of my favorite Seth Rogen movies. Even though he's not really the star, but
he's really good in it, though.
Yeah, he's really, really great in it, and that movie's really fascinating because it balances the comedy and like the really heavy drama so effectively. And I feel like this story, and especially listening to you talk about how like they brought out everything comes in like a very organic way, like their relationship and stuff. I'm curious how well, or did they in this movie, did they go in that, like it feels like it's a story that could have like a more serious like aspect to it. Like there's the romantic comedy, but there's also the note of her being like, I'm guessing in this world she's also the first woman president, right? Or running for president. And so I'm just curious how they like that aspect of the movie. Is that actually like a really big aspect that they took seriously? Or
yeah, I mean the movie 50/50 is a pretty serious film. It deals with cancer, but I would say this movie definitely does take itself seriously in a lot of parts. I feel like it kind of goes out of its way to do a more realistic portrayal of politics, and
gotcha.
I feel like it it's still kind of a romantic comedy that's dealing with this stuff, so it's not super in depth, but I think it does a really good job of that, and it deals a lot with like women in politics especially. And
see, Shaun, like I kind of felt like this movie at times their relationship took a back seat to what she was doing as part of her job. You know, I thought this movie actually had a fair amount of insight to what it takes to be political person trying to make everyone happy and make agreements. Like, I mean, a lot of it was very surface level because it was a silly comedy, but it also, you could see how people eventually compromise their values to advance their careers. And I thought that was the main plot of the movie. And oftentimes their relationship just kind of was there as part of it.
Yeah, I mean, they do a pretty good job of dealing with the more serious notes of politics, and it does a really good job of showing
right.
Charlize Theron's character, how she's dealing with politics as a woman.
So for me, this is like what I thought the movie did best in, was finding a really unique situation for these comedic events to play out in. I mean, there's so many comedies, so many that are just like a straightforward setting, just some people hanging out and going through some drama. But they put this movie on the backdrop of this whole kind of like this whole election cycle, and within like all this kind of deep politics. And it just made it so much more fascinating to watch and to go from location to location and scene to scene with not only their like love for each other building, but also like watching this pretty great like campaign story play out. Not many comedies like take a story that's that big and roll with that. And I thought that was a really smart move for this movie.
For sure. It kind of almost reminded me of Parks and Rec season 5 a little bit with
yeah. I mean, I felt like a lot of it, like I said before, I felt like, you know, it was surface level insight, but there was still a lot to be taken away from it. Like, I would recommend this movie to almost anyone that like pays attention to politics and stuff, just that follows election stuff. And there are a few moments where that are just so hilarious. Like, so, I mean, real quick, like Seth Rogen's character is like, he sticks to his values, like very heavy minded. And, there's a part where he finds out that his best friend is a Republican, and he like freaks out. And it's like just that type of, I just thought both characters were so believable that it was like, I don't know. I just feel like, man, these two are best friends, and they don't even realize that they're on the other end of the political spectrum. And it was like, I don't know. I just feel like that type of insight can be taken, and you know, a lot of people could take a hint from that.
Yeah, for sure. And to add to that, like, I think in the entire movie, they never really talk about, you know, Democrat versus Republican, except for between those two characters in that one scene. They never really say that whether or not Charlize Theron is a Democrat or a Republican, or the president that she's working for, whether or not he's Democrat, Republican. And so it kind of takes this kind of ambiguous middle ground to politics. And I thought that was really cool. Kind of making more broad statements about politics rather than, you know, taking an easy jab at one side or the other. So that was something I really appreciated about the movie.
May I poke a little bit at the end? So with all this like cleverness and the setup with the politics, I kind of wish they hadn't have taken the easy route with the conclusion of both their character arcs. I thought his was set up way too bluntly and way too easy at the very beginning of the film, and his clash with her was just like so obviously coming for so long, and they kind of like collided at the end in just like the kind of most basic way, just like two extreme ends of the spectrum.
I mean, I thought this movie, though, I want to go back a little bit to what Shaun made a point during his first part about how there wasn't like artificial drama. And that was one thing that I really appreciate about this movie. And sure, like they had a character arc that you could see coming from a mile away in a silly comedy, you know, but I really think that there is something to the fact that they didn't add any silly, unnecessary drama to that. Like Seth Rogen didn't get jealous and say something stupid. He didn't pick a fight for no reason. They had a conflict that was very true to both their characters coming from the very beginning of the movie. Like, the movie is set up a certain way, and they have so much chemistry, they get along so well, but there is a fundamental difference in them, and that's going to come to head at some point. And it finally does, and they have to address it like adults, and they have to deal with it as adults would. And, spoiler, it works out for them. But, like, we're watching a comedy. Like, I don't know, I wanted to see them together. Like, I didn't want to see them break up. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. Guys, we have a voicemail review coming in from LA. Carlos Madrid has sent in a voicemail review. So we're going to play that now. And let's see what he's got to say for himself.
Hey, what's up, Monthly Movie Dispatch? Calling in today to talk about Brightburn. It is a film that just came out this Memorial Day weekend. I actually saw it on Monday. It is directed by David Yarovesky. I had to check out my notes here. And it's produced by James Gunn, and it stars Elizabeth Banks as basically the mother of Bizarro Superman. It's an origin story for Bizarro Superman, and it's kind of spooky. It has this scary kid that is kind of trying to figure out its place in society, and then all of a sudden it becomes invincible and starts destroying stuff and trying to figure out what it actually is. I had a lot of fun. I don't think it's the greatest movie ever made. I think there is a better story behind a movie that could have been a little bit more polished. But overall, I think it is a very fun experience if you want to go check it out. And if you like spooky movies, this is right up your alley. I do believe it has better aesthetics than The Avengers. So there you go. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And I'll maybe call in next time.
I like that word, spooky.
Spooky.
What was the last thing he said?
He said it had better aesthetics than the Avengers.
Aesthetics.
Carlos is not a fan of the Avengers movies.
I mean, the Marvel isn't known for aesthetics, that's for sure. Besides one or two hits.
Well,
interesting. I didn't know that was about Bizarro. Is that just not actually canon? Or is that actually that character?
I don't know. It's definitely not. It's not a Warner Brothers movie at all.
Okay. So it's just taking concepts of that type of
Bizarro
story.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'd love to see a Bizarro origin.
I like that he kept calling it Bizarro.
I remember seeing the trailer for this, and it was just the loudest. Like, every 5 seconds would be quiet, then you just hear, and then it would go quiet again. 5 seconds later, just the audio would just smash you over the head of some crazy shit of him flying through a house or something. Yeah, definitely got my attention.
I'm actually really excited for this movie. I really wanted to see it. I just didn't get around to it. It's getting very mixed reviews, and I keep hearing it's like what you would expect. Like if in a Superman gone evil origin story, it's like what you would expect. But I mean, I think Carlos is onto something where that's a pretty interesting idea, and I mean, it's too bad if the movie sucks, but it's a pretty interesting idea. Like, there's a bunch of comics about the same thing. Probably one of the most famous ones is Under the Red Sun. That's not what it's called, but it's like if Superman had landed in Russia instead of the United States, and what he would be like instead. So, I mean, there's a lot there, and I'm super interested in this movie. I just didn't get a chance to see it yet.
What really sold me on this movie was the first trailer. because they ripped off the font and all the visuals of the Man of Steel trailer. Like, it's the exact font. It's like him, like wearing a cape in like laundry and like different, like those like really creative shots that they put in the Man of Steel trailer. They kind of got everyone
That
hyped
trailer's
up.
great.
Yeah, they kind of did a similar thing, except for he starts killing people at the end.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I never ended up seeing the trailer.
No.
Who directed it? Does anyone know, real quick?
He said.
Anyone interested?
Yeah, he's not really anyone.
Okay.
He's James Gunn's buddy.
Yeah, he's one of James Gunn's friends. He's like plays Ravagers in Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think he's directed another really low budget horror movie.
Maybe we'll save this for Horror Movie Month.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was Brightburn. It's in theaters still. It just came out. So if you're into a good horror movie, it sounds like this could be like a mix of superhero and horror, to maybe mixed results. So Brandon, do you want to introduce your movie?
All right. So the movie I saw was Under the Silver Lake. So this film is directed by David Robert Mitchell, who directed his debut film It Follows, which all of us, I think...
It's not totally true. It's not his debut film. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Which his break...
The Myth of the American Sleepover, I think is what it's called.
His breakout film that we all saw, It Follows, I think we all really loved. So this is his much anticipated follow-up. The synopsis on IMDb goes, Sam, intelligent but without purpose, finds a mysterious woman swimming in his apartment's pool one night. The next morning, she disappears. Sam sets off across LA to find her, and along the way, he uncovers a conspiracy far more bizarre. So this it's a very simple explanation, but this movie is crazy, guys. And I know it sounds like, Nick, you've of course seen it. That's why you're laughing. But Derek and Shaun, you guys haven't seen this yet, right?
No, I have not.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to mention the release cycle for this. So I think it debuted in Sundance early in 2018, and got a lot of weird, crazy mixed buzz. And they pushed off the release until towards the end of the year in 2018. Then as it got closer to that, they didn't want to compete with the award season because they were worried about it, and A24 buried it until 2019. So well over a full year after it debuted,
there's some rumors that maybe they did some recuts of it because it's very long. It's like almost 2.5 hours, and so I think there were some rumors that they were re-editing it, but it still is like almost 2.5 hours. So I don't know if they really did any re-editing, and because it still is pretty bizarre.
It's bizarre. All right, so this movie is a lot. Like David Robert Mitchell has got ideas, and he put every single one of them in this film, and it is in depth. It's a mess, but it's full of energy and full of life. I can see, like, it's super daunting while you're watching it. Like, at parts, it feels like a chore, and then in the next scene, it's like awe-inspiring, and you're just trying to grasp onto what he's doing as this like epic LA noir story unfolds. But for me, it like really came together in one of the final scenes that just like honestly made me like really tear up, and it like recontextualizes everything you've been watching in such a creative way, and kind of just makes you want to like stay in the theater and just rewatch it from the beginning to like get that new light on everything you've been seeing up until that point, 2.5 hours in. So it's a wild ride, and I just respect the hell out of the movie for that reason. It's far from perfect. I think, honestly, one of the biggest things it suffers from is there's just so many scenes, and he's just doing so much with all these different characters and locations and how long the film is, and he probably cut a lot out even with how long it is, that it probably suffers from a lot of like budgetary like restrictions on what he was actually able to put together for some of these. Like, you can kind of see the seams at moments when he's taking some of these concepts pretty far. I don't know if you kind of noticed that, Nick, a little bit, But there's some weird costumes, some weird set designs at parts where you're kind of like, did he really want it to look like that? Yeah, I don't know. I can't wait for you guys to watch this because this is a love it or hate it, all or nothing kind of movie.
Yeah. I loved that simple description of this movie because it's like anything other than descriptive than simple. Yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I can't wait to rewatch it. It reminded me of a classic film noir in a lot of ways. You know, a lot of film noirs have too many characters, confusing plots that are hard to keep up with, and threads in stories that you aren't sure if you're supposed to pay attention to them and keep track of them or not. That's kind of how this is. It's also kind of like Inherent Vice, where it's a lot of drug use, not as much drug use as Inherent Vice, but there is drug use, and there's certainly beautiful stylized cinematography, and but it's got this whole like surrealistic worldview where you kind of aren't sure what's real or not. I mean, with Inherent Vice, at least you have like this reason for why things aren't real. Like, I don't know if you guys, we haven't really talked about Inherent Vice that much, but I just rewatched it, and there's characters in Inherent Vice that might just not exist because of his drug use. But I don't think with this movie you have that as an excuse, but still it's kind of like you aren't sure if all of it really happens, you know. And you know, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that this movie's about conspiracies a little bit. I shouldn't say a little bit. It's about conspiracies. And full on. And conspiracies are often very fun in movies. And for me, at least, not as much fun in real life, because sometimes people take conspiracies too seriously. But as a fictional device, they can be very fun, and that's what I really liked about this movie was that they had a lot of fun with the conspiracies, and they didn't at all try to make you believe that this is really how the world is. Like, the movie wasn't trying to convince you, like, hey, there are conspiracies everywhere. It was just a movie having fun with these crazy concepts, and I thought sometimes the vibe was very silly in this sort of way, and I thought the main character, Andrew Garfield's character, was kind of dumb. You know, I mean, he was smart. I mean, because he was figuring these things out, but also like, you know, he couldn't pay his rent, you know, and instead of trying to find a job, he was trying to figure out these conspiracies, you know. So like, you know, he's not like the smartest guy.
I think there's a lot of specific scenes where you're supposed to just see how like dumb as shit he is,
right?
Like outside of the reservoir at night when he walks by that homeless person, and different like very explicit scenes like that.
So I mean, but still, I really enjoyed this movie. I'm excited to buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out because I want to watch it again. I'm still kind of angry with A24 for not releasing it in theaters. Like, it straight up never came to Seattle, and I would have loved to have seen this in theaters. I don't know if I should say this on record, but I mean, I downloaded it illegally because I didn't want to rent it. I didn't want to rent it online. So I downloaded it illegally thinking if I like this enough, then I'll buy it. And I'm going to stick it to A24 by buying their movie when it comes out on Blu-ray. But, you know, it really reminded me of, you know, like cult classics. Like, it kind of reminded me of Donnie Darko, not in plot, but in the fact that it found its audience later on. And I'm still not sure why A24 buried it, because I think that it'll find its audience, or at least if it came out 20 years ago, it would have found its audience. I'm not sure how movies find audiences anymore, but I think this is a movie that eventually people will find and pick up and become like kind of obsessed with. At least I'm hoping so.
All right. Well, so I guess like for me, it seems like David Mitchell's movies he's always exploring in these really interesting ways different aspects of these classic American genres in a very modern and interesting way. Like it follows, really looking at the slasher film. And I was wondering, does this movie kind of do the same thing as a clever exploration of the film noir genre? And like, how does it? What are the kind of interesting takes on that he has?
Nick, you're the film noir guy, but
Yeah.
I'd take a guess that he makes it way more epic. I don't know. Maybe that's not true.
It's longer than a lot of noirs, but like I said, like I think it's a very clear example of a neo-noir. It's like a new age take on a classic formula. And it has a lot of themes that are popular today and back in the day. And I think it uses a lot of techniques. I mean, I think it actually is very similar to It Follows in that kind of way, where it's taking what did It Follows do? It was a slasher movie. It was also a monster movie, but it could have taken place in any decade, and it played off the cliches to make things bigger, right? Mm-hmm. And I think this movie does a lot of the same things with noir. I kind of wonder how popular noir really is anymore. I mean, it's kind of a dead genre that only like filmmakers bring up every 5 years or so. Like there's a new noir once every 5 years, and this is kind of that one for me. So I think it's very much a neo-noir.
I definitely like after It Follows. He's the kind of director I'll probably like just see all of his movies just because I love that movie so much.
You'll follow to the ends of the world.
I will. So I'm just curious. Like it sounds like It Follows is probably a more cohesive, just well put together kind of production altogether. Yeah. But I'm curious, like where does his trajectory kind of sit after this? Like, is it the kind of creative craziness that you like are really excited where it's going, or is it the kind of mess that you're worried about where like what's coming next?
That's funny. I think maybe the latter. I think he's hanging by like a string here, and I really worry. But he has enough talent to where he made it entertaining and fascinating. But I would rather him contain himself a little bit more and release something again like It Follows in a different genre. But I don't. Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, like I don't really know how a director goes from project to project, like especially someone at his level he did that American Sleepover movie that none of us have seen, and then he did It Follows, and then he did this one, and this one certainly feels like a movie where he had free reign and he did everything and anything he wanted to, and maybe to mixed results, but still a lot of creativity, and the fact that A24 is burying it, doesn't bode well for whatever his next project is. But I certainly think he has enough talent to go anywhere he wants to go, but whether or not they'll let him is where I'm like, let's see. I'm very curious. I'll be excited about whatever his next movie is. But I'm curious because, I don't know how a director chooses or if he has much of a choice, so we'll see.
I think the last thing I just want to say to wrap it up is I feel like you, Derek and Shaun and everybody else, when you go see this movie, go see it with somebody else or multiple people and people you can talk with. Because you can almost talk about this movie like over dinner afterwards for as long as the movie took to watch it. And you'll learn half of the shit from the other person will learn half the shit from you because there's so much to pick up on, and you'll piece it together afterwards. And then I got a lot out of that, and I think it helped me a lot.
It's good advice.
right, so who's ready for a little game? Okay, so
Would you like to play a game?
We're gonna have a little game here. It's gonna be quick. It's just a fun thing. Because I said at the beginning, I saw all three of these movies. I thought they were all great. And instead of picking a movie that you guys already picked, or Detective Pikachu or something that I didn't really care for. I mean, Detective Pikachu was good. It was good. It just wasn't great. But that almost makes it one of the best video game movies of all time. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. The game is what's better. Okay, so I'm going to say two things, either or, this or this. And you guys have to have gut reactions and brief discussions, arguments about which one is better. So, I mean, we're going to do about 60 seconds per question. It's going to be a quick thing, but I've got some questions ahead of time.
Is there an order of response? Or are we just yelling out? Whatever.
Bam.
I think it should just be gut. Just say it, and then we're on a podcast. Just talking over each other isn't ideal. Yelling isn't ideal, but also get your opinion in there. So
let's do it.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Keanu Reeves or Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise just has a better filmography.
I hate to say it, but Tom Cruise.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I think that Tom Cruise just has the acting chops with Born on the 4th of July and Vanilla Sky.
Oh, shit. Vanilla Sky? God damn it.
That one?
He's got the acting chops. I think he takes the stunt stuff a little bit further. I think he goes to further lengths to entertain us. And I think he probably has more movies that I openly just love.
Constantine, Scanner Darkly.
Yeah, but you don't go to those movies for Keanu Reeves.
I agree. Okay, Tom Cruise. Over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vanilla Sky is
But honestly, in any other conversation, Keanu Reeves for sure. It's
wow.
Oh, what's the big movie from the director Stanley Kubrick? Eyes Wide Shut, right?
Minority Report.
Yeah.
And fucking Minority Report. God damn, he wins.
Okay, so unanimous. Tom Cruise. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay. This one's the Steven Spielberg 1994 challenge: Schindler's List or Jurassic Park.
Schindler's List.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean Schindler's List. It's just the best fucking movie ever made. I mean, it's just it's really rewatchable, and it's super entertaining. As weird as that is to say about a
I probably
Holocaust
forgot
film,
that
he
it
actually
is, but you're right.
is really well paced and actually a satisfying, fulfilling, entertaining
Drama.
movie.
God, and you guys get mad at me for showing you Loveless.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Schindler's List is a pillar of his career, and it's part of what defines him as a filmmaker is that everything he makes is super watchable. Yeah. And I guess that's the difference between Loveless and Schindler's List is very accessible regardless of its topic.
Okay. Here's next question. Avengers Endgame or the Game of Thrones ending?
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgame.
What?
Infinitely. Avengers Endgame actually proves that the Game of Thrones ending isn't great. Because I was literally thinking about this when Game of Thrones was ending. I was like, this is tough. These writers have a lot to work, to wrap up. And it's how it's impossible to do this. And then I think Avengers Endgame. I'm like, well, I guess it's not impossible.
They did it.
They did it. So,
okay, this one's a little different because it's future projecting. But so which one do you think is going to be better? Or I guess which one you're more excited for? But which one do you think is going to be better? Danny Boyle's new film Yesterday, or Jim Jarmusch's new film The Dead Don't Die?
Yesterday.
Having
what? The Dead Don't what?
It's a
Dead Don't
zombie
Die
movie, right?
Oh, The Dead Don't Die.
I don't know anything about Dead Don't Die. I haven't seen a trailer.
I don't know enough about Jim Jarmusch. I don't think I've ever seen any of his movies.
Oh.
But that movie looks way more fascinating.
Jim Jarmusch is one of the best directors out there right now.
Yeah.
And Danny Boyle has lost his marbles with this new film. So I'm going to go with the Dead Don't Die.
He's preemptively assuming he lost his marbles.
I'm pretty.
Jim Jarmusch has become one of my favorite directors in the last few years. Like, he's just amazing. But yeah, I'm really excited for both these movies.
Yesterday.
So
I don't get it, guys.
I think it was all Dead Don't Die. That one.
I thought that movie looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
It rains
yesterday.
And I'm here over when we were texting about it, and now you guys are all saying you're really excited.
Yeah, dude, it looks ridiculous. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. Okay, we got the sequel coming up soon. Buzz Lightyear or Woody?
Buzz Lightyear.
Woody.
Buzz Lightyear's just fun. He's just a fun character to be around. Woody's always kind of a downer. Like, Buzz Lightyear is always just like, he's got this upbeat attitude.
Does Buzz Lightyear even have a character arc, or is he just an amazing person from beginning to end?
Character.
Well, Buzz realizes that he's a toy and then has to like have an existential like crisis, and
his arc is that he's just a toy.
Yeah,
he kind of turns into a MacGuffin in a lot of the movies, I feel like, too. Like, wasn't Toy Story 3, like, his big arc is that, like, he was stuck in Spanish or something like that?
Yeah, this is why Woody's better, Sean. Woody actually, like, is an interesting character.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Woody is a better character, but Buzz is a better, like, conscious entity.
Okay, final question. Seth Rogen or Jonah Hill?
Ooh.
Jonah Hill.
Oh, no.
I'm going to go with Seth Rogen.
Oh, but I'm thinking about directing, too.
I'd go with Jonah Hill, I think.
Sure.
Seth has
He's
written a
kind
lot
of a
more,
better
right?
actor, but
He's written a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Do we have to include writing, Nick?
You can frame it however you want. This is your gut.
Okay,
your
movies,
gut instinct.
Jonah Hill, but I think like entire contribution to filmography, I think Seth Rogen.
But I think he's already carved up like a era of movies that you can kind of attribute to, like post Apatow, like Seth Rogen movies that he really ushered forward with his fame and his, his just constantly writing and producing movies. Jonah Hill's much more been kind of riding along, like just being a great actor and a bunch of cool stuff. But he's also a lot younger, I think.
Okay, well, that's it. That's
That's
it for the game. That was What's Better with the Monthly Movie Dispatch, and thanks for playing,
game.
guys. That was a
fun.
good first time on that one.
Yeah.
It was actually really fun.
Okay, so let's move on to Derek's movie choice.
Oh,
I chose John Wick Chapter 3.
Parabellum.
Parabellum. So John Wick Chapter 3 picks up. Well, it's like minutes. No, it's with they give him an hour head start, whatever. Right? So we're within that hour is where this movie picks up. And I think if I heard right in this movie, this whole franchise so far has taken place in like a couple days, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're like still in the week of the first one. So just the storytelling of this franchise is so fascinating to me. And I think it's like the second biggest draw to these movies for me. Like, I just love this weird lore that they're building for no real reason other than to just keep it really interesting. And it's not like it's incredibly well done lore. It's just really fascinating with as a backdrop to these crazy action scenes we get from these movies. So I think this movie did what it did really well is it delivered on what you want from a John Wick movie, which is just awesome action scenes, really well choreographed gunplay, and just like kind of nonstop, like kung fu with bullets kind of thing.
Gun fu,
yeah. And I actually think this movie probably had less guns than the other two. It actually didn't have that many guns. Now
yeah, I mean, I don't know if the other scenes had, or the
Lots
other
of
ones
swords.
actually had. A non-gun fight scene.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, is it too early to say spoilers? I don't know how much is really spoilery in this movie.
No spoilers
I
yet.
think we shall go over our initial thoughts before we do spoilers.
Okay. What I really liked about it was, the action scenes delivered. I thought this movie was funnier than the other ones. Specifically, I really, really love the big bad in this movie. The Zero, I think his name was Mark Dacascos, is the actor. And
Bald guy.
Yeah, like the one he has the big showdown with, and that guy like stole the movie for me. I loved the concept of a villain who's just like a fan of like the main character. That just kept killing me every time they like jumped back into that mindset of him just admiring John Wick. It's just so funny to me.
I think they were talking about on the Slash Filmcast about how it's like that character represents like toxic fandom. I love you so much, but you have to acknowledge how great I am too. Or whatever.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And fun fact, that guy looks so familiar to me. I looked it up, and he's the host of Iron Chef. So, that's where I recognize him from. Yeah.
Well, he's also isn't he in like the Brotherhood of the Wolf? Or
yeah, he was in a bunch of martial arts movies for years and years and years, and then he somehow got that gig on Iron Chef. But maybe he really loves cooking. He does cook in this movie too. So, and then also what really reminded me of like the energy that this movie brings, and like I think a reason why it kind of hits a note with fans and people really admire it is Keanu's dedication to doing at least like the medium shot like hand fighting scenes. Is very clear for most of them that Keanu was doing the fighting himself with these like crazy martial artists, and that just like I don't know, that just makes it just connects so much stronger when you see someone like really putting in that, that extra effort to really sell it to the fans. And I really admire that about him. I'm not sure. I mean, you can kind of tell when they're like trying to hide his face if it's like a stuntman and stuff, but there's a lot of them where it's very clearly Keanu doing all these fight scenes. So that was really cool. Also, fun fact that I just found out when I was looking this up, it's kind of a weird thing, but almost every main actor in this movie is over 50.
No way.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves, Halle Berry, Lawrence Fishburne, Ian McShane, Angelica Houston, Lance Reddick, Mark Dacascos. These are all the main cast members of this movie.
That's
They're
really
all
surprising.
over 50.
Yeah.
I mean, like I
Except
knew
for
that.
Orange is the New Black Girl.
Yeah. Oh, is that where she's from? Yeah, the adjudicator. Yeah. She was the lone youngin. But
how old are those guys from the Raid?
they're both over
Raid
50.
guys. Oh wow.
Yeah,
shit.
they're crazy. But and those guys were a highlight in this movie too.
Yeah, for sure.
They're always
That was so
just
awesome.
great. Yeah.
I like early on in the movie, I saw like the side of one of their faces, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. They're just so freaking talented at what they do. It's insane.
Yeah, that's definitely wish fulfillment, having those two guys
For sure.
fight Keanu Reeves. Oh, it's
Guys
so
from
cool.
Star Wars?
They are in Star Wars too,
yeah.
but they don't really do anything in there.
So,
But, yeah.
So Shaun, you saw this movie in a unique format.
Yeah. Has anyone seen a 4DX movie? I don't think you guys have.
Never.
You guys know
Avoided it.
know the rundown. You've had the rundown on it.
Don't they like spray water in your face and
so,
pump out fog
so
and
it's
shake your chair?
The ultimate movie going experience where you guys can't see me, but I'm waving my hands up and down. But like the seats are waving up and down and going crazy, almost like a motion control ride.
Are there seatbelts?
No, there's no seatbelts. There's wind, like you get gusts of wind coming through. You can get rain.
Cool.
Rain? Like you'll get sprinkly drops on your head that feel like rain. You get water sprayed in your face.
Oh, cool.
This movie didn't have it, but it has smells. You can smell-o-vision. And like the thing that they love to use in this movie the most was like the chair will give you a kidney shot. It'll give you a kidney shot every once in a while and smack you on the back. And
just cut you in the stomach.
Yeah. What else? Yeah. It has like these little air puffers right behind your head that spray you in the back of that like puff you in the back of the ear. And go,
when that guy stabs John Wick in the shoulder, a knife lowers down from the seat and goes into your shoulder.
Yeah. That's what they're going for. Like you see John Wick get stabbed and you're like, oh no, someone's stabbing me. Oh no, it's just the theater.
That's just the chair.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
it's
what's your
dumb.
analysis though?
It's dumb. Super dumb. Like some of the people I went with were getting like motion sickness. It's like that. Like they definitely move a lot,
but it's physical
so
motion sickness though.
Yeah,
it's not like Cloverfield motion sickness.
Yeah, no,
it's
because you're being rocked back and forth, and it's so gratuitous. Like just any kind of like slowly moving shot, the chairs will slowly like, for no reason, in no direction in particular, just start waving around like you're floating or something. And it's just, it's so dumb.
So I'm sure you used A-list, but how much would this normally
see, that's
be?
the thing. It's Regal.
You paid for this?
I paid for it.
How much?
I went with a bunch of friends. I think it was like $22. It wasn't.
Oh, so cheap.
It wasn't any more than like like IMAX 3D or something.
That's like $10 cheaper than the RTX here in New York.
Oh yeah, but this it wasn't in 3D. John Wick wasn't in 3D. It's probably just that this movie is never available in 3D. But I assume they do 3D movies on that screen as well. So
God, I'm getting motion sickness just thinking about this.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, for a really bad movie, and if you're curious and you don't mind paying a little bit of money, like, sure, go check it out. It was pretty funny.
How wet were you at the end of this
Not
movie?
that way, but that was another weird thing. It's like, so the rain would come and it would drop on you, and it would like kind of startle you, and you'd be like, oh shit, it's raining again, god damn it. But then it would like stop like after a second of feeling the rain on you.
Right.
And then like it would
still
still be raining in the scene, and so it's like almost double distracting. And yeah,
then it's just like, what's leaking?
Yeah. So yeah, don't recommend it.
Nice.
But yeah, John Wick. So you talked about I talked a little bit about the expanding of the lore. But the thing I really love about this movie is that, like, they did this in the second movie. They didn't really do this so much in the first movie, but like definitely the second movie, and especially this movie, it's expanding this lore, but it never really explains to you what the lore is or what's going on at all, or like what the high table is. I think a lot of people from the first movie, you just kind of assume it's like this underground assassins organization with a bunch of rules and a bunch of people involved in it. But I think in the second movie, and especially in this movie, it starts to become clear that that's not what's going on. And but I love how the movie doesn't bother explaining any of that to you. And I wonder, I know a lot of people have kind of had troubles with that. And I wonder, like, what do you think about that? Do you feel like you need more explanation, or do you think that would just be a waste of time? Or do you think that it's better keeping it a mystery and better, yeah.
I think it needs to stay like thin. Like I don't know, like as soon as you start to think about it and like talk about it, I feel like the lore kind of, the concept of the lore falls apart pretty quickly. Like these are the top-notch killers in the world. Like who could have any leverage over them that they couldn't just kill and replace immediately, kind of thing. John Wick's literally invincible, and like I don't know, I just feel like it doesn't sell me on what like the adjudicator is like in this movie, kind of marching around barking orders and stuff. I never really believe that she's really in charge of anything or has any real power over anyone. But I think what's great about these movies is that you don't really need to. Like if that's what you're worried about, that's like you're not paying attention to the movie, because it's really just like a conduit for these action scenes. And it's like giving reason for these guys making this movie to like do some of the most cleverly choreographed fight scenes we get to see in American cinema. And so like to expand on the lore, I think would only take away from what we're really wanting to see, which is the action scenes. So I would hate if they did that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie has finally made John Wick become complete nonsense in a way. Like the movie, you should in no point try to pay attention to that kind of stuff. And like you're saying, it's kind of like harking back to those like Indonesian kung fu movies, to where, like, as you said it perfectly, a conduit for action. Yeah. And this movie, I feel, delivers some of the best, if not the best, in the trilogy for that. And I think it definitely makes up for its complete nonsense of a world that they've put in. Basically an excuse just to have almost every living human be an assassin to murder John Wick. Right. In a really cool, like, costumes and settings and outfits and, I mean, and dialogue.
The movie, like, gives you hints that you shouldn't care about a lot of things. For example, that all of this action and killing happens just on the streets and no one notices or seems to care. Like, either
there's no cops.
Well, yeah, or either they're an assassin, or it's like people are just oblivious to blood and guts flying everywhere. The movie doesn't care about these things.
Yeah,
as you should.
So I'm just gonna come out and say it. There's something else going on in this movie. Call me crazy, but I'm definitely getting vibes where this movie is not a bunch of assassins going around killing people. It's like gods and demons battling, and like there are mystical powers at play here. What? And there are like religious undertones going on, and like me and Kelly both picked up on it in the second movie. I don't think the first movie really
so you think there's going to be like a fourth level on top of this once it gets to movie
I
like
think
5
the
or 6?
high table. Oh God!
Oh, no.
All right,
I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
All right, the high. So first of all, I want to say, like, I don't think you're supposed to put all the pieces together.
Right.
I don't think that's what the movie's doing. But like from what I'm gathering, I'm getting the feeling of like the high table is like gods, and like it's gods like playing with humans on Earth, and they like endow certain humans with certain powers in certain places around the Earth, and they put these seemingly arbitrary rules onto them, and they like I don't know. I'm already getting a little ahead of myself, but like that's the type of stuff I'm thinking. Like
you've got an idea. You've got an idea.
I got an idea.
It's not fully developed yet, but I hear you. There's a big metaphor
so first of
going
all,
on.
people are literally disappearing, vanishing in front of your eyes in this movie. There's one guy who literally gets stabbed to death in a train station and is bleeding out on the floor while hundreds of people are walking by, not noticing it at all.
I mean, that would help explain the go into the desert part.
Yeah.
And keep going once you get further, then you can't go any further.
Yeah. The ticket thing. I mean, so this is kind of could be a thematic theme, but like, or a thematic thing. But he has the rosary that he uses as a ticket. Kind of showing these religious undertones when they use the word deconsecrated. I'm not. It's kind of a spoiler where they use that, but there's like and then there's like this one guy who's like above the table, and it's just I'm definitely getting. This is not just human assassins.
Okay.
And also another thing, like as Keanu Reeves is like running around the city and like people are noticing him, and it seems like everyone is an assassin. I'm more getting vibes where along the lines of like in The Matrix when Keanu Reeves is running around and people on the streets see him and then just turn into an agent. I'm not saying that like Matrix and universe and this universe are connected or anything, but like those are the types of vibes that I'm getting. And so like when people talk about how it nothing is making sense anymore, I think they're just ruling out the fact that this movie has gone totally mystical and like it is basically we're talking about magic here or divine powers of some sort. What do you guys think of that? Did I go totally off the wall?
I mean, you're off the deep end, but I'm loving it. You know, this is great. I don't even know where to begin with that.
I don't think there's anything to say besides like you'll prove us wrong if it happens in the next film.
Or
I guess the next film would be the film.
Or it's just like up for your
revealed.
interpretation. You know, it's like one of those things where sometimes you stretch and you read into movies and you get more out of it than other people. And I mean, for me at least, you know, I find the first movie the least interesting because it's probably the most straightforward. You know, it takes itself very seriously, and in a lot of ways, to me, it's like a film noir. Like, it's very dark, it's nihilistic, but you know, it's like it's a guy. It takes itself so seriously for a movie that's just about a guy who's getting revenge for these guys killing his dog. You know, it's like it's very the tonal seriousness, and the second one is the best for me by far because it's fucking gorgeous and it expands the universe and does something super interesting. But like the third one is like more of the second one, except it's not as beautiful. Somehow it's more violent. Like the action in the third one is just fucking crazy, and I mean, some of it's just like so shot. I mean, one of the first things that happens is John Wick kills someone by sticking a book in someone's mouth and just hammering the book in until their face is broken by the book. And, you know, so right off the bat, you're like, okay, this is somehow more violent than the last one, and he's using a book as a weapon. But, yeah, so I mean, that's kind of my take on the series. But personally, I think we're in the middle of a soon-to-be legendary franchise. Like, this is, I feel like we're watching something special right now, and each movie has kind of done something a little bit different, and...
and I don't see it slowing down.
No.
Yeah.
I was kind of worried.
Most money so
continuously succeeding.
Well, and I kind of was worrying that this was going to be the one where, like, those creative juices kind of did slow down. So it's like we're 3 movies in, like 5 years in. Like, but it just shows that they're still, like, just bursting with ideas and, like, still really excited about what they're doing, which is really cool.
Yeah, this and Mission Impossible are just like...
Yeah.
So I got 2 bones to pick. One's really obvious, but I wonder if anyone has a different take on it.
Bone Man.
He's
got
the
bones.
desert side plot. Besides the creativeness of the action sequence, did anyone else think that was nonsense and a big waste of time?
Well, Brandon, let me explain this to you. What was going on?
You've said enough.
I agree. I honestly couldn't really tell you exactly what the point was.
Yeah, to get him back where he started.
They created a problem so that he could go out there, but the reason of going out there was just to solve the problem that they just created.
Yeah.
So it's like...
to get him into a cool action scene and then to come back to where he started, which concludes, like, kind of the first thing that popped in my head when this movie ended. I was just like, so nothing actually happened to John Wick from the start of this film to the very end, except for maybe one little point of progress with a adjacent character next to him. But I'm pretty, like, disappointed with, like, how little things were pushed forward, like, in the timeline and in his overall mission throughout these 2 hours compared to the other 2 films.
Well, I think this one had the least to work with in terms of plot. Is like the second one left us off on a cool cliffhanger. We're like, whoa, what's gonna happen? And, like, the answer in this movie was like, he's gonna run. And
and this movie
and that's
is him
what it
just
was.
running.
Yeah. So,
and it ends with him. Well, fuck. But
we don't have to. Yeah. I want to say one non-spoiler thing. How freaked out were you guys by the dog scene, like the dog fight?
Oh my god, that was so
incredible.
good.
Was that
Holy
real?
Crap!
All real.
Was it?
Well,
Yeah, I
think,
guess they even had the
like,
dog do
that's
that, like,
fucking
2-story jump
No way.
off the back. Like,
I'm
that
getting
was all
chills
real.
right now. Like,
yeah.
that's fucking crazy.
Well, there's got to be. I was watching it even a second time, and I'm like, there's got to be. They had to have, like, cut those scenes up. There's no way. Like, I'm sure those were real. I positive those were real dogs doing those real things, but they had to have cut those scenes up in some kind of way to where, they didn't have to rely on all these stunts taking place just between the humans.
Right.
And on top of that, get 2 dogs to be like perfectly choreographed.
I think
Right.
you guys are over exaggerating some of it.
I
The
don't-
shots weren't that long.
Some of them were.
They would each
just
character
rewatched
would
it.
just do one move, and the dogs would do one move, and then it would cut.
Well, one dog would do one move, and then the other dog would go do another move, and then it would cut back to Halle Berry, and she'd do a couple more moves, and then, like, she'd run by the dogs, and it would, like, that's insanely complicated.
Insane, yeah, definitely.
I mean, maybe it's just they put in the time, they did it, but I mean, like the shot where she runs into the room and, like, the 2 dogs jump over the table.
That's what
She slides under.
That's
the
what I
table.
mean. Like, the choreography
Oh,
is so insane that it's like, to me, it's unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable. I didn't believe it when I was watching. I was like, my jaw was just dropped. Like, what the how? No way. Like, but it looks so good. Like, there's no way it's not happening. But
I mean,
like,
Brendan
it's
is
just
probably
crazy.
right. It's
Like, I could
probably
see the
most of
seams,
it-
guys. Like, the dogs would come out of, like, corners all like, and every time the dogs would have something to do, they'd come out from around a corner.
For sure.
Like they weren't doing something violent and then moved on to another violent act.
Yeah.
You know, like,
the dogs only had one thing to do.
they only had one thing to do,
shot.
and they'd emerge from a space where they could be sitting with their trainer. Like you could kind of see those scenes. Not to take away from anything, but like
No, you're probably. I mean,
way
it
you're
probably
saying it.
is like almost all of the shots were, you know, the humans doing one thing and the dogs each doing one thing.
Yeah, being
and they
let
would cut
go
around it. But there,
to
I
their
think
path.
there were at least a couple shots that, to me, had to have been some kind of
Trickery.
Yeah, like either the shot was broken up into a couple different clever swipes that cut two shots together, or maybe even some really clever compositing where they I don't know, somehow put the dogs. Well, I guess that doesn't even make sense. So it was all.
So
like
I'm guessing
handheld.
that's Derek's favorite scene.
I mean, that was like that. Just seeing the dogs do those things was legitimately like shocking to me. I could not believe that was happening. So I don't know where that lands. I don't know if it's my favorite scene, like that I liked the most. It's definitely the most impressive to me, though.
I think the I mean the knife fight to me just floored me beyond belief.
Yeah,
Like in the museum?
The knife fight was
The
unbelievable.
knife fight in the knife museum.
Yeah.
I could not believe what I was watching.
Oh yeah,
that
that
was
was
I was like, how has no one just in an action movie decided to throw 300 knives? Like,
unbelievable.
it seems like something a kid would think of, but no one's decided to
Yeah.
do it.
Unbelievable. That scene
Yeah.
was just jaw-dropping.
well. That's
love-
that's one of the scenes. I mean, like that scene was very, very clearly Keanu Reeves doing all his own
Yeah.
stunts, because there's a lot of medium close-up like fighting shots there. It's a lot harder to hide a stuntman, and like he stepped up and like was like keeping up with those guys.
I loved the beats and the pauses they had in that scene and in so many others, where like there's like a pause right before a moment of horrific like brutality, like you were saying, Nick, that's just more than they've ever done in the previous films. And like then the knife would just be thrown across the room after like a 5-second pause and just make the guy's head explode. Or like there was like just these really clever
Stab someone
beats
in
is
the,
the best
brain.
way. Yeah, there's beats is the best way I can describe it, but it wasn't just action, action, action. It would be like action, action, pause.
Well, I think
bam.
something had to do with them, like at the pace where they had to throw the knives. You know, it was like, I mean, first of all, that setup where they're brawling and then they realize where they're at and they're surrounded by knives, where they just both turn their backs to each other and start breaking the glass so they can grab all the knives. But something about that process of like, you know, it's not like a gun where you can just keep firing. It's like you need to throw, grab, throw. And there is a
they're
natural
getting
pace
tired
to that.
and they're getting like hurt and they're slowing down.
Yeah.
Well, and then like
it was
some,
just beautiful.
And then like some of the knives wouldn't stick in. Like it would like they would throw them, but then they would like the end would bounce off of them because it was you know the handle part. That I mean, just
I think a couple times they like collided midair.
yeah, you know.
So fucking good.
So
There's also go ahead, Sean. I feel like
I was gonna kind of move. No, go ahead. I was actually gonna move on from the knife scene. So if you have something else.
My last thing was just like, I think part of what makes the action in these movies so exciting, and I think that scene really exemplifies it, is like the energy and the anger behind like little one shots. Like there's one of the guys, he's pretty much defeated already, laying on the ground, and John Wick throws like 4 more knives into him, like crazy fast, and like really like you can see the energy and the anger behind, like just bam, 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 and then he just turns to the next guy and keeps going.
He's not afraid to double tap, is he?
No, yeah, that's almost like a rule of his.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with the dog fight. Like they would like shoot them at point blank on the ground after the dog had tackled them, and then they'd give them like 5 more before they moved on.
Yeah. So another thing I love about this movie is how cool they make reloading. Oh my god!
Oh,
so
yeah,
like
him reloading
I feel
that
like
shotgun.
I feel like every other movie, reloading is just something that they like that slows down the pace of the action or something. And so like so many movies, they'll just unload 30, 40 rounds out of a little 6-shooter, revolver or something. But I'm sure you can find this online. I'm sure someone's put in the work for it. But like, I would almost go as far as to say that every shot that Keanu Reeves shoots in this movie, you see him load it into his gun.
Like they're all accounted for.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if they just like committed to that and they went with it.
Yeah.
And like the way he reloads his shotguns, where he's like loading 3 rounds at a time, and then it's so cool, and it adds so much to those action sequences.
It keeps like the precision and the efficiency of all of their killings.
Yeah.
Like it keeps that energy flowing because it's like, he's not wasting a second. He knows he's perfect at this.
Yeah, and like one gun runs out of ammo, and so he has to pull out his sidearm and use that, and then puts that away, reloads it real quick, reloads his main weapon real quick, and moves on to the next guy just in time. Yeah, like all that. It adds such an interesting dynamic to those gun fu scenes.
Yeah,
I guess you would call them.
Yeah,
but yeah. Does anyone else have any favorite?
I mean, I think overall my favorite scene, just because I thought it was the funnest, was the final fight scene between the 2 ninja proteges and the main ninja guy versus John Wick. Like that whole the glass house fight sequence.
Yeah.
It's probably just overall my favorite. It just had I don't think it was necessarily the most complicated or most impressive, but it had a lot of my favorite moments. Like I brought this up earlier, but I just loved the concept of these ninja guys like just being fans of John Wick. And like they're so excited to be fighting John Wick that like they don't even want to like beat him when he's down. They like pick him back up so that they can get a true fight out of him. And like it's such a funny and enjoyable concept. And I don't know if this is spoilers or not, but I like that there's almost like a camaraderie within them as they're fighting each other, because I don't think he actually even kills those guys.
He doesn't kill the raid guys. I think you're supposed to insinuate that the very spoilery, but the bald guy is dead.
Right. Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, the other 2 are definitely still alive.
Yeah. And that guy really stole the movie for me. The main ninja dude, like he's he's so funny to me. And like that, and like after the fight, he's like, "There's a good fight, hunch." Like it's just so funny. I don't know. I love that, and I just loved bringing ninjas into the John Wick franchise. It was just really refreshing and a fun, like supernatural thing to explore.
I thought it was really funny how when the adjudicator first walks up to him and he's like serving her sushi, he's speaking with a very thick Japanese accent, and then as soon as he realizes that she's an adjudicator, he like goes away and he has his like very American.
Yeah,
that was really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that wraps up this episode, guys.
I hope so.
So anyway, let's all say our goodbyes. Brandon, what's your letterbox link?
Beb. B-E-B.
B-E-B. Derek, how about you?
Chicken tack.
Shaun?
At Bulbinator.
Cool, and I'm Mothman23. Anything else you guys want to add?
No.
Cool.
That's it.
Well, thank you so much for
Go watch
listening.
some movies, guys.
Yeah, keep watching. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.